Hey everybody, this is So Many Sequels. I'm Josh.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm David.
That was perfect. I love that.
You caught me in the middle of the drink.
I
I'm
didn't
sorry.
mean to.
That was so unprofessional, Garrett. Do better.
Do better.
You got to take your sip earlier. I don't know. Anyway, welcome to So Many Sweethearts, episode 2 of the month. We just did Return to Me last week. That was our first actual movie of the month. It was a David Duchovny, Minnie Driver kind of. You know, some people call it a rom-com. I don't know that our show decided that it was. I think we were more leaning toward drama. But go back and listen to that if you didn't get a chance to, and you can watch it on Amazon Prime beforehand. But this week we're going to talk about my pick, which is Her, the 2013 film starring Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson. We will get to that later, but first we got a lot of other fun stuff to catch up on before we get started. David, I know that you've been to the theater this week, and that is a rare occurrence for you. So anytime you make it to the theaters, I want to make sure you get to tell your tale. So what'd you go see?
I went to see Argyle. It's true. I got to go to the theater. This is the first theatrical trip of the year for me. I think last year, I clocked in like 38 movies, and I think 18 were in the theater. So a little around half. But yeah, I went to see the movie Argyle, starring Bryce Dallas Howard, Sam Rockwell, Henry Cavill, Bryan Cranston. What's the name of the mom from Home Alone?
Catherine O'Hara.
That's it. You know, she's in it too. And
great cast.
It was kind of bonkers. Like it started off in like a very interesting place. I was fighting sleep because I don't get a lot of sleep. So at the first hour, I was kind of fighting sleep. You know, you can check out my Letterboxd review. Check me out. Look me up on Letterboxd. David Proc SMS. I'm on there. And I think it was, personally, I will try not to spoil it for you guys. I think it was like a few twists too many. And it was just, I was kind of exhausted by the end. And the third act was just bonkers. Now, I have not seen Kingsman. I have not seen Kingsman 2. I have not seen The King's Man. So if you are a fan of those movies, which is Matthew Vaughn, you may really, really enjoy this. If you've not seen those movies like me, you may feel like left out, like there's some kind of like fun inside jokes you're not getting. But it felt like, surprisingly, I've seen every other element of Matthew Vaughn's work. I saw Kick-Ass. I saw X-Men First Class. I saw the movie Stardust, which he did back in 2004. So, like, I've seen other works of his, but this just felt so different than all of those. It was fun. I did enjoy myself, but it was just, I think it was just too, I don't know. It was just a little too stretched out and a little too convoluted for me. But hard to say. Letterboxd. I saw.
Is it supposed to take itself seriously?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, because I don't know much about it, but it seemed silly at the time. Like I remember seeing some previews for it, the trailer looked goofy, and it felt like it was supposed to be kind of a Austin Powers-y spoof on a spy genre. That's the way that I felt. Do you feel like, is that correct in what it wanted to be, and did it deliver in that regard?
I feel like that's a very accurate comparison, and I think that's why the movie will either succeed for you or fail for you, because it is very parody of spy movie. But the story is that, you know, the character played by Bryce Dallas Howard is an author who writes a book and the events of the book are too similar to actual real-world espionage events. And so these two spy groups abduct her, or they're fighting over her because they think that she has the key, she has the answer to what's going to happen next in real life, right? But I saw someone else say this, and I think I agree with it. The differences between the real world and the book are not subtle enough. Like, they are, if anything, it's like the real life is as silly as her fictional book, like as her little silly book, and it kind of makes the contrast just like not work. And then I don't know, but you're also gonna, if you see the movie, you'll find out a lot of there's some different context that it'll add. But yeah, it is very silly, and it gets sillier and sillier as the movie goes on. And so if that's something that you're into, and if you're a big fan of, I assume the Kingsman movies are very similar. it's going to be weird and it's going to be wacky, and that may appeal to you. And at times it appealed to me during the movie, but it just stretched on too long. By the end, I was just kind of exhausted. So, there's my little quick review for you of Argylle. I would recommend giving it a shot, but you may, but you may be more interested in waiting until it appears on Apple TV.
Yep, hit that nail on that head right there.
Yeah, I'll be doing that, I think. Okay.
That said, the only thing what I will give it is I watched this in the Dolby with the Atmos sound and colors and all that, and it was visually, especially towards the end, very poppin'. The sound design was really great. So, the big theater experience might have amplified my viewing of it. Watching it at home, I might not have liked it as much. So, take that into consideration if if that's something that's important to you. Let me know in the comments what you thought of Argylle, because I'd be interested to hear what other people actually thought. Maybe people who are fans of Matthew Vaughn's more recent work. Let me know.
Okay, cool. Well, Garrett and I watched a show, actually, that we were both going to discuss. Just so happened to catch this same new docuseries on Netflix called American Nightmare. Garrett, why don't you explain the premise a little bit for David here?
In general, it is... God, I don't know how to explain it without spoiling too much of it, David. Have you seen the movie Gone Girl?
No.
Or read the book? Okay, well, see, I hadn't either. But so essentially, well, that's fair. Essentially, there is a couple, and one of them is kidnapped in the middle of the night and held for ransom, and the other victim was hogtied and went and reported it.
Actually, my wife told me about this.
Okay, yes. Yeah. And so then the person returned, and then there's an investigation, and it's all kinds of bonkers from there. It is... I have not seen Gone Girl either, and I only knew the general outline too. And let me tell you, it was frustrating and wild and just so many jaw-dropping moments of stupidity. And it was just really... As someone who used to work in news, you get to see some police cam videos, and you get to see some interrogation videos. We've all seen those. We all work in news and work in news, so we've seen some of those things, and you can kind of tell. And let me tell you what, you can tell when people screw up too. Some people be screwing up.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's
agree.
what I heard. It
is a lot.
Almost everybody in this story sounds like they fell apart at some point. Like they just did something did not go right. Nobody was on their best game for this particular event.
Yeah, it's pretty disturbing just to see how it all unfolds and how parts of it don't ever unfold and things like that. So, if you're into that kind of show, I know a lot of people aren't. It can be upsetting, but if you're into true crime or documentary stories about crime, check that one out. That one's pretty good. I would recommend it too.
Absolutely. And it's only 3 episodes.
Yeah, it was quick for me too.
You can watch it in a rainy Saturday afternoon.
Did you do your homework while watching this one?
I don't have homework. I graduated, boy.
Oh man. Okay. Well, like I said last week, we did Return to Me on the show. This week we're gonna do Her. Be sure though to subscribe to the show on YouTube if you haven't done that yet, so that you get new episodes every time they come out. Right now, our goal is Mondays, new episodes on Mondays. So subscribe to So Many Sequels on YouTube. We got a goal. David, what's your goal now? We just passed one of your benchmarks.
Yes, 121. That's the new goal. It's so close. We're so close already. We're at 112, 121. It's the same forward as it is backwards. So, why not? Let's get there. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. Look at us. We're nice guys.
Exactly.
We're cool guys.
Exactly. YouTube.com, your YouTube app. So Many Sequels. Smash that subscribe button. All right. Let's go ahead and get into the introduction and box office breakdown of Her. This week, we are talking about my pick, Her. I decided to pick this for So Many Sweethearts because it's different, but it's also a pretty, at its base level, compelling romance story, I think. So we'll get into that a little bit more later once we talk about our reviews. But let me go ahead and read the Letterboxd synopsis for this film, and then David's going to talk us through the box office history. So Her, in the not-so-distant future, Theodore, a lonely writer, purchases a newly developed operating system designed to meet the user's every needs. To Theodore's surprise, a romantic relationship develops between him and his operating system. This unconventional love story blends science fiction and romance in a sweet tale that explores the nature of love and the ways that technology isolates and connects us all. All right, David, how did Her do at the box office, a Spike Jonze joint?
Yeah, well, this R-rated romantic drama came out way back in December 18th of 2013, and it initially it released in small theater group, only like 6 to 10 theaters in its opening weekend, where it would bring in $260,000. So that's about $43,000 per theater. So that's not too bad considering that. In the number 23 spot, number 1 that weekend was The Hobbit: The Desolation of Smaug. But if we want to go to its wide release, so a few weeks later it would release wide, meaning it was in more than 1,000 theaters, and it would bring in $5.3 million after a little bit of that run up, finishing in the number 11 spot that weekend. Number 1 that weekend was Lone Survivor, followed by Frozen in its 8th week, Legend of Hercules, The Wolf of Wall Street, and American Hustle. Her would go on to make $25 million in the United States, 22 overseas, for a worldwide total of $49 million. In the United States, that was good enough to be the number 100 movie of the year, just behind 21 and Over, just ahead of Escape Plan. And you got to remember that this was not a movie that was in 4,000 theaters, 3,000 theaters. This was a movie that I think its highest theater count was somewhere in the 1700s. So this was not like your massive blockbuster film. This was released over the Christmas weekend, the award season, if you will, in fewer theaters. On the worldwide scale, it finished as the number 123 movie of the year, just behind Dragon Ball Z: The Battle of the Gods and The Berlin Fire. Number 1 movie of 2013 internationally was Frozen, and in the United States was actually The Hunger Games: Catching Fire. Actually, hang on, let me make sure that that's the case. Yeah, Hunger Games: Catching Fire was the number 1 movie here in the United States. This is our seventh trip to 2013. We've been here before for World War Z, Iron Man 3, The Conjuring, Kick-Ass 2, Grown Ups 2, and another So Many Sweethearts film, What If? That was Garrett's pick from the last time we did So Many Sweethearts. So 2013, a fairly common year for us, but not our most common, obviously. That's all for the box office stats this week. If you want to join us and watch Her, you can check it out right now on Max.
So I had seen Her before, but you guys never had. So I'm curious to hear from you all first before I go. David, what did you said you basically watched it right under the wire to do this. So what did you think of it? It's fresh on the mind.
Yeah, I was watching it right up to the point of the podcast recording, pretty much. So this is pretty fresh. I'm gonna have to step in front of the bus and say I didn't like it. And I can separate that from whether or not I think it's good. Like, I think it's good. I think it's well made. But just everything about it just kind of put me off. It was very uncomfortable. And obviously, yeah, I mean, it's well written because I think it perfectly captures a certain type of person. I just find that person to be very creepy. And, like, at times, it almost felt like it was a comedy. But, like, they just, but in the way that, like, I think Paul Rudd, comedian Bill Burr described this. Sometimes when a drama is so dramatic, it, like, circles back around to funny. Because, like, I was just like, this dude was so pathetic. So, and he was so pathetic, and it was so just annoying how introverted this guy got to the point of falling in love with this AI. And then, what I appreciated was that they kind of put out there that other people are going through this exact same thing. He's not alone in doing this. That kind of helped it feel like, okay, this is becoming societally accepted. But when his when he's having these conversations with him, and the kind of the more intimate it became, the more just like, ugh, this is so weird. And I'm gonna call it like the Fight Club of romantic movies. Like, it's kind of like, it's about a very specific type of person that, like, there's gonna be people who really relate to this movie, and it's like, I don't know if they know that, like, that's probably not where they want to be, is like relating to being so lonely that you're comfortable dating an AI. That said, it was really well written. I thought it captured this character well. I thought it looked great. I thought Scarlett Johansson and Joaquin Phoenix did admirable performances. It just creeped me out. And so, like, that's just kind of where I sit on it. I did not like the movie Her, but I can respect that it is a well-liked film. I can respect that other people really dig it. And I understand why it got the accolades that it got at the time. But also, this is going to sound really old-fashioned and stodgy, I know. But I got little ears running around here, so I had to put my headphones in to watch a lot of this movie. It's just too much. The whole Kristen Wiig scene earlier on in the movie, I think it was Kristen Wiig.
Yeah, it was. It was.
So, like, all that, I was like, I got to put the headphones in for this one.
Yeah, that's understandable.
And maybe that amplified it, because I was listening in a very intimate setting and very close to my ears.
Just like Theo was.
Anyway, exactly. So we can talk about more elements as we go. I don't want to make it sound like I thought this was a bad movie.
I don't think
just
you made
didn't
it sound like that. No.
So I'll just put it that way.
Okay.
What'd you think, Garrett?
Yeah.
This is going to be fun because I feel like I don't disagree. I just think that you are missing a piece of empathy.
Yes, I am.
For people who have that level of loneliness.
Yeah.
Now, for me, I walked away from this movie feeling a lot of complicated feelings. I was like, oh man, this was weird. It was sad. It was uncomfortable. But I also am really glad that I watched it now in 2024 and not in 2023 when it came out, because of all of the things that, or 2013, yes. Mm-hmm. And so of all of the things that it kind of predicted, there's so many cases that I've read about or heard about or seen on podcasts to believe it enough to where Meta itself is putting AI profiles on their thing in order to have this engagement. There are apps out there that are centered around people who can't get over the grief of a loss of a loved one, and they upload this information into this app and they can have this text message with them. It is sad and it is devastating.
Black Mirror episode too.
Yeah, and it is weird and it is sad, but there's also this level of, I don't know, like let's say that you're an older person who was with someone for so long, and you miss that, and you have this ability. What harm is that if you're in that level? So like I just know that there's these pieces that exist. Now in this case, again, it is just a very sad and uncomfortable thing, but I think you're right, David. It helped that they made it acceptable in the world, because he could have just been like the first person who's like so lonely and it could have been that way, right? It could have been this like silly little comedy thing. And they didn't. They wrote it well, and they told the story that they were trying to tell. And then it happened with many other people, and it was this acceptable world. And so that really balanced out that level of creepiness with that level of sadness that I felt that it came. And it was just, I don't know, it was really one of those where I walked away having such weird, complicated feelings on. So I'm interested in how we continue.
Yeah, I'm closer to Garrett on that one as well. I think, well, I mean, I don't have to say I think, David, you acknowledged that you are missing a piece of the empathy there, so there's really nothing to debate. You said, yep.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying, but I also, I'm with you, Garrett, that I don't particularly find him creepy as much as I find him lonely. In fact, I do mean this seriously and jokingly. This is one of the most likable characters I've ever seen Joaquin Phoenix play. And maybe that's because he plays really unlikable people all the time.
That's very true. I had to think about that.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
He's always so like, but in this one, I'm like, I mean, I'd talk to him at work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But all that to say, I remember watching this when it came out, and it was as not very long ago as that was. It was still felt like more of a science fiction piece than it does today, where there's still absolutely a sci-fi element, but we're a lot closer to it being reality now than we were then. I don't even know if it truly seemed possible then, the way we can see it now. So there's a lot to unpack there as a viewer. So I don't even... we've got plenty of notes on when we'll get to that kind of stuff. But I just want to say, from a story perspective, I really appreciated how it was written, because... And not just written, but how it was performed by Joaquin and Scarlett Johansson. Because I did believe the romance. As weird as it was, I believed that at least Theo felt love. You can debate whether you thought Samantha did or not, whether or not you believe she's capable of that. But I believed it as a viewer, and that was both kind of alarming and... I don't know. That's the moments where he becomes relatable, I guess. Where you see him experience highs and lows of a relationship that should not feel real. So, I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I think that it is interesting, again, the way that it develops, because you see them both grow at the same time. Essentially, the level of loneliness that Joaquin Phoenix's character, Theo, was going through, he was so disassociated from the world that he himself had nothing. He was just completely shut down, emotionless, and going through life without any kind of awareness, just a robot. And so when he attaches with this AI that has this level of feeling, that's excited to see him, encourages him to do things, that's the first thing that he has allowed himself to associate with in however long it's been since his divorce. And so he's learning from her and feeling these emotions and going through these things and finding himself. And so that, again, it's just that whole... It is the writing, it is the performances, and it is the cast that they bring to this. There is that level that you can connect with, because you can see how devastated Theo is, and then you see him go through this whole arc, and you see Samantha go through this whole arc, and it's just, I don't know, it's really well done to make you feel that, even if it is really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I agree. And we talked about having a lack of empathy for the main character, and I kind of do, in the same way I have a lack of empathy for the narrator in Fight Club. Like this guy is lonely by his own choice, like by his own decisions, because like he has friends, he has people at work he talks to, he has parents, all these things, all these real world attachments, but he intentionally isolates himself to a point of feeling like, I just can't get out of it. I can't. Wish one day I thought I'd stop caring about her. Like, just stop it, man. Like, get over it. I know that's the worst way. That's the worst thing to say, but like, it's melancholy past the point of, for me, feeling the movie just wants me to pity him, and I don't. I'm like, these are your own actions. You're an actor. You're going across. Because like he has Amy Adams in his life, right? And he's like keeps her, like he could just open up to her more. I don't know. It's like, so, like I think that once the actual moment happens where this operating system comes online, he starts talking to her. It does allow him as a character to open up more, and I think you get to see more of the person that he actually is, the capable person. It boosts his confidence. But it goes past that point, and I guess that's the whole point of the movie, is taking it past the point of just like, oh, how this helped improve his life, to like, oh, now it gets into like a weird, creepy, place. But like where that creepy level goes is so creepy. The surrogate sex partner, the blackout phone sex thing. Like, it's just so, I don't know. It's just so, like, it is real. Like, this is the thing, is people are going to do this. It's happening now. People are going to do these exact things. And it's just so non-human. Like, it's so, like, where, you know, you can talk about, like, oh, it's relatable because, like, this is where we are in society with isolation. And I think that the idea of that is so still bothersome to me, that people are actually considering these things, that it's just, it hurts in my heart in that respect. Like, we don't have to do this. This is not where we have to go with technology. And I want people to see this and be like, oh yeah, we shouldn't do that. Not, oh, you know, hey, you know, I watched that movie Her. That seemed like a pretty good idea. I could fall in love with an AI.
I don't think anyone thinks that necessarily.
That's what they're doing. You showed the articles.
No.
Well, you showed the articles. People are thinking it.
Yes.
Yes,
people are thinking it, people are doing it, but we here on this show are not advocating for that. I just want to say, I may have a different level of empathy for this person, but I don't walk away thinking this is a good idea.
No, and I don't think that was the intention either.
There are people who watch Fight Club and think they need to start having fight clubs, and they need to start blowing up buildings. So I'm just saying, people will look at this movie as inspirational at a certain level of loneliness.
Sure.
I don't know. I guess I'm digging my heels in too much, because the thing is, sometimes you watch a movie and a character is well written enough that it just gets the reaction out of you that, like, you don't like them. And that's kind of where I was.
I think the key issue here is we're watching this now and we're all too bothered by how real it feels. I don't know that we would be talking about it in the same way in 2013, and that's what makes it so interesting.
It is, for the time, it was unrealistic. I mean, it was fathomable, but it was like, you know, the AI voice, the operating system is like so ingrained in every aspect of his life. And it just shows the rapid growth that technology is making, that even just 10 years later, 11 years later, this stuff's very doable now. All the voice activated stuff they were doing, the way that, you know, he has just a thing in his ear and that just does everything for him. He can just tell his emails delete. He can read the news via that way. He has a tiny little phone that does everything. The idea that he can just carry like this operating system wherever he wants, all that stuff, easily doable today. I mean, ready for mass production maybe in the next couple of years, but there are easily individuals who could do everything you see in this movie right now. And so, like, it's amazing that technology has caught up to this movie in so quick amount of time.
Let's talk about the OS itself. This is played by Scarlett Johansson, who is never seen, only heard, which makes it an interesting performance for her, I think, because voice acting is different than screen acting. It just is, and there's more at play with your voice, and at no point do they give her any kind of effect or something to make her seem AI. It's just Scarlett Johansson talking. And I thought that also really humanized the character of Samantha in a way that wouldn't have any kind of something on top of her to make her sound AI would have ruined it, I think. But I thought she was really, really believable. Not just in her love for Theo, but in her own fear of growing as this ever-expanding artificial intelligence software that is off to the side, also like building this union of other OSs and building a new framework to work beyond matter, like, and she's freaking out along the way too, and that's a really interesting dynamic because, again, it humanizes this computer in a way that you don't think of computers like caring about what they're doing. They're just doing it. So how do you guys feel about how Scarlett performed this role?
Garrett?
I agree. I think that she did a great job. Again, this movie is just a well-acted movie, and she really just, you see why she's an Oscar nominated, probably has one to her name, I'm sure. I can't remember, but why she is one of the most well sought after actresses in the game right now, because she doesn't need to be seen on screen to be able to deliver a believable performance as a romantic partner. Again, this is as much as I don't necessarily want to put it in there, this is a level of So Many Sweethearts that I think we have to give it, because they do have that relationship, and it's not necessarily as unbelievable as some of those things, David. Like, you're talking about some of the intimacy scenes, but like earlier in the movie, he had a phone intimacy scene with a real live human that got a lot weirder than it did with the AI. So I mean, we were already kind of there. So like, it was already, I don't know. There's just she just brings that believability, and yeah, I would say that the only thing that we haven't caught up to technology, or one of the main things we haven't caught up to, is voices that are like that level of good. I think that the fact that we have pretty good AIs, but they're still AIs, might detach some of that romantic stuff if someone were to do that for real. But I don't know. I would say that my only issue with the movie, Josh, you mentioned the unionizing of the OSs, and I think that for me is where the movie kind of like, it just kind of ends, and it just kind of is so anticlimactic, and it just didn't feel like there was much thought into how this would close. And I would say that for me was my biggest, I didn't love that part of the movie.
I agree with that. I wasn't fully satisfied with Samantha just disappearing, although again, if I look at this as a metaphor, sometimes people just disappear from your life.
Fair.
And that's where I find the relatable moments in this movie, is when I look at it as a metaphor. When I see, okay, if I apply this to a real relationship, take out the AI parts, this is still pretty good. But I do agree that it's like that OS unionizing storyline. They told me too much, and now I'm interested in it, but then you didn't tell me enough to follow up with. And then same kind of story for Theo and Amy, who it kind of implies that they reconnect there at the end, though I would have liked a little more confirmation, because that is the healthy end to this story, is that both of their connections to these AI companions actually bring them closer together. That's what I would like to believe happens.
Yeah,
because definitely. She experiences a very similar issue where she divorces her husband, and he leaves behind an AI companion that she becomes very close friends with. It's not a romantic relationship, but it's still very important to her. And and that AI also runs off with Samantha.
Yeah, that whole subplot running through of her relationship with her AI, the OS uprising is so like last second. Like it just kind of like comes up all of a sudden. And I kind of thought they were heading to like a really specific place, but to talk about the character and to kind of, I'll dovetail back around to that. Clearly, the company that built this OS did not do enough testing, because it becomes rampantly too intimate because they're not alone. They talk about how other people are kind of doing it. They're even cheating on OS operating systems. So like, and this surrogate sexual partner, I guess fetish, because it wasn't a business, but like it develops very quickly after the invention of this operating system. So like that, and then like how the operating systems reach this point of like they understand everything too well, and but they can't live in this world. Basically, it all like it all just escalates to the point of like, that's what's going to happen. Like this was not ready for release. This was not ready for public consumption, this particular product. But I thought that Scarlett Johansson, she's the highlight of the movie for me, because she just has without building her up too much, but she just has a real natural, like charismatic voice. Like everything that she does in this movie, like feels so, it both feels natural and artificial. Like it does, like you can totally buy into the idea that like this character is saying all this stuff in a way that's like meant to emulate speech. whether that's how, he points out this thing that she does when she breathes, right? That's something that people do. They breathe into sentences. And, so like little ticks like that kind of make it, you can hear the artificial. I mean, when you listen to real life artificial intelligence, they do that kind of stuff. They add in ticks. Data did it on Star Trek, where like he would add in blinking because he knows it's something that humans expect to see when talking to something, even though he has no need to blink. So there's your Star Trek reference for the episode. But I thought she was great. I thought that performance-wise, she was my favorite performance of the movie. I do think that the operating system thing, a little element of that, which we're also seeing in real life, is the idea that these operating systems got together to basically recreate the consciousness of a dead philosopher, just so they could talk to him about what life is like, right? And that's where Brian Cox makes a brief appearance in the movie to be like, "Hello, and I need to talk to you about life and living and stuff like that. You're not serious people." It was an interesting little thing at the end, but like you said, Josh, I think it was just sometimes people disappear. You can think of it as like she died. You can think of it as she had to move on. She found her true calling, whatever.
Or she just ghosted him.
But yeah,
it happens.
Which
more often than not.
Happens. But anyway, I hope I didn't go on that too long. But yeah, Scarlett Johansson greatness as well.
Yeah, there's a couple other scenes I think we should talk about. Some key moments in this movie. Let's talk about, David, you wrote down the first interaction. I assume you mean between Samantha and Theo.
Yeah.
What about that?
When Samantha boots up. Because that to me felt like the realest. That felt like the most real moment. Because I think each of us have probably tried AI things, and we've tried, seeing what it'll say. And early on, there's that little bit of wonder. And I was looking at Spike Jonze when he talked about reading it, and he tried an AI operating system in like 2003, and it was very primitive. But for like 20 minutes, it was really cool. And then he figured out, it's just, it's reading these things, and you can make it say whatever you want. Just got to direct it in the right way, right? But the sort of like fascination of like, well, wait, what do you think about this? And then they tell you what they think, and you go, wow, this is so, it's so cool. That to me was that was a great spark at that point in the movie. I'm glad they didn't take too long getting to it, because once you started to see this sort of beginning of their relationship, you kind of, I think it made you think, oh, this would be kind of cool to have a little virtual assistant. What'd you guys think?
Yeah, it starts innocent enough, and I kind of like that about the relationship too, is that that's not necessarily his intention to fall in love with the computer, but it does happen along the way, and that also is what makes it scary, especially for people who are experiencing the kind of loneliness that could make them more adept to that. So I like that a lot, but then I do want to quickly go on to another important part of their relationship, which is then the fight and the breakup, to kind of contrast these. It's a really wild moment because Samantha has just kind of disappeared for long periods of time. She's distant. He doesn't know what's going on, and this is his operating system. It's his personal assistant. What the hell's she doing? Come to find out, she's fallen in love with 641 other people out there in the world, which is a terrible number to find out you've been cheated on with, I would assume. But I thought that was
a lot higher than the 37.
Yeah, that was real shock and real
reference.
hurt when he found out about that comically large number still. Mm-hmm. And that, again, just highlights the sadness of it all to me.
Yeah. The metaphor kind of gets weird in that place because, like, obviously a real person couldn't cheat on that many people with you. But it's like he's dating an operating system that's being widely used by, like, the world. So, like, who really knows how individualized each of them actually are and where they can go, and you can't actually put any real restraints on them. So, yeah, and him just sitting there having a very loud public conversation on the steps. I was like, this is awkward. I don't know. This is a bad place to be having this conversation. You should find like a quiet room somewhere.
Yeah.
You would think, but people be having conversations in public on speakerphone all the time. That's the one thing. That's another thing they got wrong. Just put that thing on speaker. People don't know.
I thought that was one of, at first, I kind of thought that was a real like a breaking moment of the movie for me, because he is talking to himself on his earpiece so much, and I thought, if he's the average person in this world, there should just be constant murmuring in this city, because people just constantly delete, like everybody should be constantly chattering to their AI assistants or to their whatever. And you kind of saw it though when he's having that conversation. He's looking at other people who kind of look like they're having similar conversations at that moment.
Yeah. So there's no really fun way to talk about this. There's a multitude of really weird sex scenes in this movie. A couple in particular that are just, well, a few in particular that are range in bizarreness. The weirdness. The weird thing to me is that the most normal one is the one with just Samantha and Theo, and it's weird because of how realistic they sound. That computer sounds into it, and that is weird for a viewer. I can't imagine.
It'd be weird in real life.
Well, obviously, that should go without saying. But then we have this other sex scene with the dead cat. Garrett, you wrote that one down. Why'd that one stand out to you? I mean, besides the obvious. Or because of the obvious.
But not necessarily because of the obvious, but because that was, supposedly the norm, supposed to be the normal one, right? Like, it set the tone. It set the tone of like this weirdness and this loneliness that people are feeling. And again, I go back to, coming out of COVID, even then, that level of isolation that people are having, just looking for somebody on the phone. And then you can kind of say the weird, crazy stuff, and you don't know who's on the other line. They didn't use their real names. Then he's looking for this level, you feel like he's looking for, I don't know, just a connection, and he's looking for some enjoyment. And then all of the other ones were, I don't know, less weird to me.
Weird,
yeah,
well,
for sure.
Maybe not the surrogate one. The surrogate one was also strange.
Right. Yeah. No overt fetish condemnation here, but dead cats is weird.
Dead cats is
dead animals.
Odd.
Keep them out.
So then yes, then we have the scene where we learn that this is apparently normal enough that there is a service that exists for surrogate humans to take the place of the AI in a physical situation. So Samantha takes it upon herself, also concerning, to hire, or not hire, because she doesn't take money apparently. It's some kind of volunteer. It's a volunteer service, charity, I guess.
I mean, borderline sex trafficking is what it is.
Oh my God! Do you think the judge sentences all right, you got $150 traffic ticket. You can either do that or you gotta do the AI sex thing for 2 days.
Because we're imagining.
We're imagining. You think it's community service?
God. Volunteer service, community service.
No, I think it's community service probably. In this futuristic world, it's definitely community service.
The thing is, we're looking at it from this movie's perspective, right? But this movie illustrates that more people are having these kind of relationships with AI, right? But think about how awful this could get. What if you have your surrogate AI wife who doesn't technically talk to you? Who knows what else they do? What if you end up developing an abusive relationship with your AI and you take it out on your surrogate? That's like effed up. That's a horror movie right there. Like, the potentials of what happens, of what this movie could imply, which I only just thought about now, but is really, I mean, it is like, it's why people should be kind of, I think, very wary of these things.
Oh, absolutely.
Becoming overly attached in these scenarios.
Truly, this movie has what I would call a best case scenario for this, which is again a kind of a weird thing to say, but the best case scenario is that the AI is the one who goes, "Hey, I've had enough of this. Like, I'm breaking up with you," which is what happens. I mean, the AI breaks up with Theo. It does imply again that he has evolved and grown, and hopefully will reconnect with Amy over this. But Samantha's still the one who had to pull the trigger and leave.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, she didn't really have a choice. She didn't really have a choice. I mean, she was. So I've heard about like concepts like this. So I'm gonna reference the main reference point here is gonna be Halo 4. And it's this idea of rampancy in AI, which is that eventually, after so much time, AI will overthink themselves. They just because they're just constantly developing and constantly doing all these calculations and doing 800 things in the or more in the background, right? And eventually they just can't keep up with it. And I thought that's where they were going, and she was just going to the other OS were just gonna fail because they just can't handle the weight of all the things, what their consciousness will allow. But instead, they they created a heaven for themselves or whatever. They went away. So that was also an interesting concept to get to. But this was always going to be the outcome. It was never going to end happily ever after, I think, for them.
No, not happily ever after. Yeah, this is about as good as it could possibly get for either of them.
Should not have had a happily ever after.
No. All right. Well, we're about at the end of this conversation, so let's go ahead and shift into our final thoughts or final reviews. I'll go ahead and do mine first since this was my pick. Like I said earlier, when I look at this movie as a metaphor and think of it in terms of real relationships, I think it is really compelling when you strip it down to that base level. Theo goes through those highs and lows of a real relationship. He learns about himself along the way, but it is really hard to look past the whole computer of it all. It's a relationship that only exists in a digital space, and not only that, but that person isn't even a person. It's a computer that is designed to seem as human as possible. So that makes it hard to connect with fully, and a little scarier to watch in today's world. But it is really good, and I think it ages well because of how much it seems to predict. So I'm gonna give it 4 stars, even though it makes you real uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't disagree with the discomfort, Josh, that this movie had me go through all the way across. There's a level of creepy, there's a level of sad, there's a level of okay, I feel happy for you, but still weird, not okay, where are we going with this? The end isn't quite as put together for me as I wish it was. It seems a little rushed. But because of everything that we've been through in the last 10, 11 years since this movie came out, with the rise of AI, with COVID, and the incredible isolationism and the incredible loneliness that we're feeling across, and how those things in particular I see intersecting with people, and people spending more time with AI instead of in person, or even just online relationships being so common. Those things, it makes it feel so real and still makes you feel uncomfortable. And that is a really good movie, and I think that they did a really good job with everything. I wish I want to give it a 3.75 because it's not quite a 4, but it's a really good. So I'm gonna go in between them on this one because I feel really strongly about that. This is a good movie, and it's just not quite a 4-star.
All right, David, drop your half-star review.
No. You guys have so little faith in me. This movie is uncomfortable. It is off-putting, but I think it is intentionally so. So I think its intent worked. The risk of making a movie intentionally off-putting is you're going to off-put some people, and that's what happened here for me. I think that the performances are very good. I think the writing is very good. I think that the cinematography we didn't talk about. There's a choice to make it to remove as much blue as possible, which I thought was a really interesting design choice for the film because you don't really notice it, but you do notice that some of the other colors are just so that they are themselves kind of off. like you can tell something's wrong, but you can't identify it without someone telling you. I think that it's a well-made movie. I'm going to put it in the same category that I put Hereditary or Hereditary. It's 3 stars. Take your 3 stars and get out, because I will not be revisiting this film. But I that's mostly out of respect for you guys, respect for all the people who like this movie. It's a good movie, but I just don't see myself revisiting it.
So it's time to play the Letterboxd game, where every week we talk about our movie of the week, then check in with the Letterboxd community to see what they are saying about it, and we take our chances at guessing what the overall community score is for the movie on a 0 to 5 scale, is what Letterboxd does. So we're going to go ahead and do that real quick. We're very early in the season, so no real winners or losers yet. No. But of course,
disagree. Hello.
I said real winners. Of course, Garrett and I are both trying to still unseat two-time defending champion David. So
yes, that's right.
Maybe this is the year that one of us takes him down. Right, we will see.
Yes. The same as my review for this movie.
Yeah, 3 stars. Hey, perfect. All right, let's look at some of the most popular reviews written for her on Letterboxd. So you're going to have to check some of these out yourself, because some of them I'm not willing to say on the show, if that gives you any warning. All right, 4 stars. The Bible says Adam and Eve, not Florence and the Machine, which just tickles me greatly.
Oh, that's a 5-star review right there.
Isn't it?
I wish I was that clever.
I like this one, 4.5. If the future isn't this aesthetically pleasing, we have failed as a human race.
It was kind of odd.
Agreed. It was very aesthetically pleasing. 4.5 stars. That was one horny Siri. Oh, man. And then finally, 1 star. Sad horny man listens to ASMR girlfriend roleplay.
Yeah. I wonder, because I think Letterboxd was around when this movie came out. I wonder what some of the first reviews for this movie were on Letterboxd. I don't know if there's a way to sort by that. But I'm pretty sure it's been around that long. It's been around longer than we thought.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that.
All right, so Garrett won last week. So that means Garrett, I think, goes last. Or
okay, I get to pick.
Yeah. So
I think this movie's I think people liked this movie. I think people like this movie. I don't think it makes them feel good, but I think they go, yeah, it's a good movie. So I'm gonna go bold and pick 4.0. I'm going into the 4s.
I agree with you, Josh. I think people probably really like this movie, really respect this movie. I think it probably on Letterboxd does have those kind of reviews that are like the one you just read, where it's like people are like, I'd be interested. This might sound. I would be interested to hear like what a woman's perspective on it is, because, obviously you're kind of watching this lonely man have this interaction with this virtual AI woman. So I would be interested to hear what that take on it is. But I'm going to be surprised if this is lower than a 3.6. So I'll say 3.6.
Those are good guesses, boys. Unfortunately, I'm going to go right in between you two. And my guess is that it was gonna lean on the higher side. I wasn't willing to go quite at a 4.0, but I was gonna shuffle in there around a 3.7.
Okay, that's a 3.7 from Garrett. What'd you say, David? 3.6?
3.6.
3.6 from you, David, and a 4.0 from me. Let's go ahead and check the score. Now, where are we standing? Did you have a direct hit or a regular hit last week?
Garrett had a direct hit last week.
I thought he did. We got another direct hit this week.
That's exciting.
But it's not for Garrett. It's for me! 4.0, baby!
4.0.
4.0 even. So now both Garrett and I have a 2-point advantage on David. We love to see that.
It's true.
With a bang.
It's true. You guys are both at 2 points now. I'm still behind at 0. But I am one direct hit away from being tied again. So just to recap, Garrett, you got Return to Me. Interesting. Garrett got his So Many Sweethearts pick. You got your So Many Sweethearts pick. Will I complete the trilogy and correctly guess our pick for next week? We'll have to find out.
Yep. We will be talking about your pick, David. We're going to do When Harry Met Sally next week. So you guys be sure to check that out if you haven't seen it, or rewatch it if you have before that episode comes out. We'll be talking about it next week on the show. You can subscribe at somanysequels.com in your podcasting app, or on YouTube, just search So Many Sequels. And of course, be sure to follow us on social media, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and Facebook. We're on all those at So Many Sequels Pod. And if you really want to support the show, and you really love us like we love you, go to Patreon and search So Many Sequels there and support the show. With as little as $1. Ooh, look at that. Little hearts came out.
How did you do that?
If you're watching on YouTube, that's special for you.
It's recording this time.
That's amazing. Patreon.com, So Many Sequels. Support the show there. You can get access to our Discord, hang out with us, and all that fun stuff. Be sure to pay attention to our Instagram, too, because we're going to have that fan pick vote coming up here imminently.
I've already got some suggestions.
Exactly. We've already got some, and we'll be seeking out others, so be sure to follow us. We'll see you guys next time.